So we're getting into variables. So what is a variable? Well, it's a missing number or an unknown. That's it. It's an unknown number. So for example, 3 plus some number is equal to 5. This is a variable. It's some missing number in our math. This is called an equation because it has an equal sign, equal for equation. This side is equated with this side. And we'll talk about how to work with this later. You can imagine it as like a scale. And this has to weigh the same as this. So we have a 5-pound weight. Here's a 3-pound weight. And if these are in fact balanced, they're equal, what must be this? What does this must weigh? So this plus that weighs 5 pounds. And so you can guess that must be 2 pounds. And that would be correct. That would be a good guess. Another one you can do. I'm going to use the dot for multiplication. We'll talk more about this later. But we're going to use the dot instead of the X multiplication sign because the dot, it's not confused with the X variable. We'll talk about that shortly. So here's another one. This is a variable. It's a missing number. So 2 times what number would give you 6? You go through your multiplication tables, you're going to find out that this number, is 3. Because 2 times 3 would give you 6. Let's try another one. Suppose we have the following. Some number divided by 2 gives you 4. What number is that? Oh, that's not 4. That's 8. I'm kind of giving it away. So what number, if you cut it in half, you get 4. And let me rewrite this. I'm going to write this in the algebra language. We'll talk more about this in the next video. But we're going to use the fraction notation for division. And that's just sort of the algebra language. We'll talk more about that. But this number divided by 2 gives you 4. What number, if you cut it in half, gives you 4? I gave it away. The variable, the missing number, the unknown number, is going to be 8. One more. It's a tricky one. A number times itself, again, I'm going to use the that there, minus itself gives you 6. Now, recall that if we have a number times itself, and again, I'm going to use this dot here. Let's go with something a little different. A number times itself, we can write that as the number squared. And again, I'm using the dot. So I could write it like this. The variable squared, or variable times itself, minus itself gives you 6. Now, what's a number that works for that? And, well, here's one that's going to work. I gave it away again. 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And then the 9, subtract 3 again, gives you 6. Well, all right. So all variables are, it's a missing number. And you can try to guess these. Now, you might have realized that last one was kind of difficult. And they can get worse. At some point, guessing is going to be really hard. So you might have something like this. a number times itself minus 3 times that number, let's see, plus 2 is equal to 0. Or we might put it like this, the number squared, because that's the number times itself, minus 3 times that number plus 2 is equal to 0. What numbers work for this? And if you've done anything with quadratics, you might be able to figure this one, but it's going to get much harder. So what we're going to do in algebra is learn techniques for figuring out that will lead us, that will guide us to what this actually is, help us find it where we don't have to guess. And that's what we're going to do with algebra. The last thing to mention, for reasons that probably have to do with simplicity, maybe even saving ink, saving wear and tear on writing with your wrist the whole time, we typically represent variables using letters. And the most common one we do, we're going to use X. Instead of writing the box with the question mark, we're just going to write the letter X. And why use X? Well, again, it's just slash slash. It's easier to write than the box and the question mark. It doesn't look like other numbers. Other letters are used for variables like A, but A, if you write it too quickly, it might make it look like a 9. So you have to be careful with that one. Or B might accidentally look like a 6. And, depending on how you write your Y's even, it could look like a 4. The Y is a very common one that's used as a variable. Z could look like a 2. So X is usually considered the safer variable because it doesn't look like another number. So we're going to save some wear and tear, and we're going to save some ink, maybe save some time. And instead of writing a complicated symbol for the variable, we're going to use X. So now we'll take equations like this. 3 plus our variable is 5. We're now going to write it as 3 plus X equals 5. And X means the same thing as this. It's an unknown number we're trying to identify. And instead of saying this equals 2, we're now going to say X equals 2. And that's all X is. It's a simple version of that. So that's it. If you have any questions, let me know.